You can only beat the team in front of you. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen, not the strongest side that was left in the competition. They weren't able to do it over in Germany, but this was much, much better, wasn't it, Nigel, at the Emirates?
Much better performance. Arsenal got the job done again. They suffocated them. Great goal by Eze. And then also Declan Rice's goal was a beautiful finish. When you watch that again, for young kids watching, we always say, and these two could take because they're strikers, pass the ball into the back of the net. That was a goal of the highest level. When you watch that goal again, especially the camera angle from behind, how he takes that first touch and just literally bends it into the far corner. Arsenal were great. What I love about Arsenal as well is we don't talk about it so much in modern football because we criticise so much, and this is all for all the teams. And there we see the goal again from Declan Rice. Sorry, just beautiful to watch.
That's so good.
That's not a strike. That's inside of the foot, passing it into the back of the net by the England international. Goalkeeper can't even dive or move. That is just quality of the highest level. What I like about Arsenal, the togetherness. What Mikel Arteta's built at that club deserves a lot of credit because they're all singing from the same song sheet. They're all heading in the same direction. And what I like about them defensively is, like Troy said when we spoke in the other segment, defenders love to defend. All their defenders, their pride is about defending. It's, you're not going to beat me. Every block, they celebrate. Every header, they celebrate. They celebrate with their goalkeeper, Raya. That is phenomenal. That's what football is about. Your job is to defend. Midfielders have their jobs to do. If they do a block that helps the defender out, you get a pat in the back. If you score a goal, you get a pat in the back from the strikers. Striker scores a goal, they get a pat in the back from the defenders and midfielders. Everyone does their job, but they do it together in one unit, and that is something you have to admire about this Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side. It's great to watch.
The only bit of pushback I'll have is about the performance. I think they won the game. They were great. Still took a massive save from David Raya to keep it a clean sheet. They still gave up moments. Again, it's a game of football with two teams. I thought the performance side of it, Bayer Leverkusen were better. I think we'd agree they played the better stuff. But Arsenal just keep grinding you down, said, no problem. We know we won't make mistakes, but we know you will. And when you do make a mistake, we're going to punish you, we're going to kill you. And many years ago, they didn't have that towards the back end of the Wenger, and then with Emirates, and now under Arteta, they've got this horrible, steely nastiness.
They win ugly.
Just gets things on the
line. They win ugly.
They win.
That's what they were criticised for. They're not doing it, but now they're winning ugly. So you just got to hats off.
Also, they've got that Mike Tyson. I'm a big box fan. Mike Tyson in the 90s. When you used to see him come into the ring, you were like, uh-oh, you're in trouble. And that's what I think Arsenal have got now. Everyone looks at them and go, unless we're perfect, unless we score every chance we get, we're in trouble.
And they feel like, for me, getting back to the days of, the 90s, Arsenal were nasty. The Tony Adams, David Seaman, Vieira, Keogh. You can name a whole long list of players who knew how to win ugly, and they were difficult to beat, and they won so many titles.
In that, sorry to interrupt you, even in that, we talk about like the English guys, but there was still Patrick Vieira, Emmanuel Petit. It was just a culture that was there, and I think that's what you've got now.
And that continued up until around the Invincibles, and then in that period, in the kind of 2000s, and towards the end of the Arsene Wenger period, and at the start of Mikel Arteta's reign, all of that winning ugly had gone. And now, for me, Grella, it feels like that's coming back now.
It is back. They're difficult to beat. For me, they're the most tactical team in England.
Yeah.
And what we probably don't talk about enough, or maybe we do, the physical side of the game. They were so much more physical than Leverkusen. They're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger. Could take advantage of them in certain moments. Like Leverkusen would get away, play a good bit of football, and get into a advantageous position, and then Arsenal could just make great recovery runs. Boom, boom. And they're back there in place. When they beat Real Madrid last season, which was a historical win for them with the 2 Declan Rice goals, they won it because their defensive transition was so good. Because the guys like Mbappe and Vinny, it was no problem for some of those Arsenal players. They matched them with the pace of the game. They matched them when normally Mbappe and Vinny are gone. No, not against Arsenal. Arsenal said, no problem. They made some really fantastic plays in that game on the defensive transition. So physically, it doesn't look like it because they're coasting through games. So physically, they're on another level than most teams. You see that, I think, in the set pieces early. And tactically, that's why sometimes we say, oh, it's a little boring. But they're smart, right? They respected Leverkusen on the road. They took 1-1. They came home. They got the job done. It's methodical at this point. And I think that, to me, I don't want to play a team that's like that calculated, that's that technical. They don't open up. They don't let the emotion of the game, they don't let the emotion of the competition get to them. I don't want to play against that team. And we're going to cover Carabao Cup this Sunday coming up live from Wembley. I obviously can't wait. But for me, Man City might be I mean, they have all the talents, they have all these goal-scoring opportunities, they have all these players. But for me, I don't want to play in a one-off game against a tactical side like Arsenal, a side that's going to be very difficult to beat in all those departments. So that's certainly where they've grown, and that's why they're in the quadruple still.
Yeah, I think methodical is a really good way of describing it. And all 4 of the competitions that Arsenal are in, remember, they could still win the quadruple. They are just on that methodical, slow march towards taking the silverware. As we showed you just there, it was a wonderful goal from Declan Rice to make it 2-0 for Arsenal. Let's hear from the Englishman speaking post-match.
Do you feel the pressure at all? Arsenal's got a lot of pressure at the moment. Are you just enjoying it?
Yeah, we're just embracing it. I think we're having an amazing season. Everyone, we started in August, we're now in March. Everything that's happening this season is down to the manager, down to us working hard, every day, enjoying it and living the game, and we've done that again tonight. And yeah, I think when there's games coming up thick and fast like they're happening, we've got a big one on Sunday, which is a final, but we need to keep going and enjoying it. So that's the main thing.
Do you see a different Declan Rice, Troy, this season? Has he developed his game even more from what we saw last season?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had the pleasure of speaking to him, haven't we, a few times as well through the Carabao Cup. There's a steeliness and there's a desire, not only with Declan Rice, but with the likes of Saliba. I think it goes through the team where they're saying their pockets are empty. They want to win. They want to be known. But I also think for Declan, there was loads of talk at the start of the season. Who's the best holding midfielder? Is it Declan? Is it Rodri? Is it Caicedo? And he's in that type of topic and talk. And he's the type of personality, and Nigel knows him as well as I do, where he's assured, he's confident, but he also quietly wants to go, no, I'm the best. And I'm going to show you I'm the best. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to keep delivering performances. And when you watch the games and really study the games, whenever the moments the game gets a little bit stretched, it's always him that's back there making a block, making a tackle, putting his foot on the ball and saying, whoa, calm down. And then in the other aspect of his game, which has got better now, is as he goes forward, he's like, no problem. That finish today, as Nigel alluded to, is top class. He wins the ball back. As it's bouncing, how many midfielders have we seen would hit that under half volley?
Well, they just panic and smack it,
He takes an extra touch and just goes, no problem, let me just pass that in there. And that just shows where he's at and where the group's at. Again, Nigel worked with him as a player. I've played against him. The growth you see in him, but also the humility of a human being that he is, you don't want anything but the best for him.
Humble and hungry. Best way to describe him. Only thing that was missing where he was criticised for was scoring goals. And now he's doing that. So now if he continues to score goals now, and a player of his quality, you're looking at least 15 goals a season because he's capable of that, then you're probably going to be starting to say and put him, he's in that world-class region. Because, I mean, for me, you're competing against the likes of Vitinha, who's another top player at Paris Saint-Germain in this competition as well. He scores goals, but he also does everything else that Declan does, and Declan's got all the ability in the world. If he scores more goals and continues to do that now, and with Zubimendi coming to Arsenal, that lets him get a little bit more forward now, then you could definitely have the conversation to say he's definitely already in that world-class category, not too many in the world.
Oh, and I mentioned the Q word earlier on, quadruple. They are still on for it. We've asked the viewers whether or not they think that Arsenal will win the quadruple. How many titles will Arsenal win this season? 53% saying just one, 18% think they'll win the double, 11% the treble, and another 18% have said that they will win all 4 of these competitions this season. Nigel, which way would you go if we'd asked you that question?
Probably
two?
Maybe the double. I'll give him 2.
I would go with the double.
I'll go with the double. Definitely. I can't, more than the doubles, asking.
Premier League's
it's
in the
very
bag.
difficult.
Which 2 then?
I think when we asked this question a couple of months back, I think I said 2 as well. And I said at that time, I don't see him winning the Champions League, but I can see him winning the Carabao Cup and the Prem, which obviously they could more or less have that wrapped up in the next 2 weeks. Would also make them favourites for the FA Cup. So I'm definitely at 2. I'm leaning a little bit more now to 3. I just don't think they can win the Champions League.
You guys heading over to London for the Carabao Cup final this weekend. Does it change the lookout of the game, really, and how Arsenal will feel about it, given what's happened in the Champions League? They've got through, and Manchester City really have been humbled by Real Madrid.
Yeah, because I think we know what Arsenal have from a football perspective and from and even from a team perspective. But what were the questions all the time? Can they get over the line? Right? Can they win the competitions? Can they go and get the trophies? I think this win in the Champions League, the Premier League, now Man City just drew, so the gap has grown a little bit longer. I think it's giving them confidence that this isn't a bag. I mean, even for us, right? Like 2 months ago, we're like, oh, Arsenal going to fumble it. They're not going to. They might win something, right? Now we're all like, is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? So I think they've now there's a new level when you talk about Arsenal. There's a new respect you have to have when you speak about Arsenal. You can't just come on and talk about Arsenal and say, oh, they're going to fall. I think now they've done enough to show that, and I think they feel that as well. I think they feel that confidence. And so going into the Carabao Cup, I think they'll say, no problem, you come and beat us. You've got something to prove. We're close. We got one hand on the Premier League. We're still in the Champions League. You're not. You've got to come out and play the game. And I think they will. I think Man City will go for it. And I think they'll play with a high line, and Arsenal will take advantage. So they're growing in confidence.
And I think the perfect encapsulation of both teams is that if you look at it, Man City are playing a good... Even though they lost today, they played with 10 men for, what, 5 minutes for Bernardo Silva sent off? 15 minutes, something like that, very early on. They played very well. They did well. At times when you were watching it, it looked like Real Madrid had 10 men. Man City continue to play well. They have 5-10 minutes at the start of a game when you're like, go on and kill them. They don't kill them anymore. Allow the other team to come in. Arsenal now will sit back and go, no problem, because we know we only need that 5 minutes and we'll kill you. And it'll be Man City have loads of the ball, doing all that fun stuff. Arsenal will be pragmatic and get the job done.
It's crazy going into it, because I think, like the guy said, they just listening to them talk, there's right. I think going into this final, you'd probably say there is more pressure on Manchester City than Arsenal. Bear in mind, we criticise Arsenal to say they get to the final, but they've never won anything. What have you won? We've seen this project, but what have you won? But there's more pressure on Manchester City, especially after today now. Knocked out in the Champions League to Real Madrid. I would say Manchester City right now look like a wounded animal going into this final, because there's definitely more pressure on them to win it, 100%, and Arsenal can go in this final with a lot of confidence compared to Manchester City, but they're a wounded animal. So we're going to really learn a lot more about Manchester City now in this final than we would about Arsenal. We know what Arsenal are. They've shown us for the entirety of this season and what they've done in the Champions League. So now it's all about Manchester City.
Really quickly, if City do win it, do all the same questions now apply?
Back to Arsenal, yes, it will, because it'll be the first major final.
Yeah.
Definitely. Pressure goes back the other way then.
And speaking of the final, you three will be at Wembley for it. You're heading over, I think, on Thursday for this one, the Carabao Cup Final, first piece of silverware in English football on Sunday. Arsenal against Manchester City. I'm still waiting for the call, but maybe that'll come in the next day.
Hey, don't worry.
So.
You do an extra 5 years and you'll get there.
Pop your head over for that, though.
Don't worry as well.
12:30 p.m. Eastern.